Welcome to Stormin Chocolate. I'm Stormin Norman. Today's song is number 43, Thank You by Sly and the Family Stone from their greatest hits album of 1970. I mentioned in song number 41 that my musical taste had run through four major phases. First, pop music in the 60s and early 70s, then intro to progressive rock in the mid-70s, dance and funk music during high school in the late 70s, and finally, new age and electronic instrumentals in the 80s. Today's song fits squarely in that first phase. Sly and the Family Stone are one of the Bay Area's musical success stories, up there with Santana, the Doobie Brothers, and Journey. Sylvester Stewart was born on the Ides of March in the middle of U.S.'s involvement in World War II. For those of you doing the math, that's
1943.
That's not you.
Oh.
Now I got to go back.
No.
While initially appearing in Texas, his family soon moved... Don't laugh. While initially appearing in Texas, his family soon moved to Vallejo, California, which is in the northeast of the Bay Area proper, just over the Interstate 80 bridge that crosses the Sacramento and San Joaquin River estuary, which feeds the bay. This is about 20 miles north of Berkeley and 25 miles north of Oakland. In contrast, I was raised in the next city south of Oakland.
Raiders.
Sylvester was born the second of 5 kids to a fairly religious family, but one whose particular faith encouraged musical development. This would do the kids well in the future as they would spend decades in the business, and Sly himself would play guitar, bass, keyboards, and drums in addition to singing. Sylvester, his brother Freddie, and sisters Loretta and Rose performed gospel music in church as the Stewart Four while still young. While Loretta would not pursue a musical career, all 4 of the other Stewart kids would, including the youngest sister, Vieta. Sylvester would be in and out of bands throughout high school in the late 50s, and at one point, a classmate misspelled his name as Slyvester. This was shortened to the nickname Sly, which stuck with him. After attending the Solano Community College, Sly worked at a radio station in San Francisco. This station had changed its programming in 1958 to R&B full-time, still using its KSAN call letters it had been using since 1939. When the station was sold in 1964, it changed the call letters to KSOL, pronounced K-Soul, to better indicate its mission. Sly was instrumental in guiding the station's programming and is credited with popularizing the K-Soul moniker. While at the station, the musical prodigy would play gigs throughout the Bay Area for touring artists such as Dionne Warwick, Marvin Gaye, Chubby Checker, and dozens more. After having adopted the stage name Sly Stone, and with the rest of the family of performers taking the same surname, Sly, who was performing as Sly and the Stones, was having a family meeting with his brother. What are you laughing about?
This is Sly and the Stoners.
Yes, that's what it is. That's what I said.
You said Stones.
Oh, go back.
I thought that was a mistake.
Sly, who was performing as Sly and the Stoners, was having a family meeting with his brother Freddie, whose band was called Freddie and the Stone Souls, and they decided to fuse the two bands. This effectively created the entity we all know and love, Sly and the Family Stone. They worked around the Bay Area through 1967, with Rose Stone joining the following year. Their first album, A Whole New Thing, was released in October of 1967 and included Sly, Freddie, and Vieta, Larry Graham on bass and vocals, Cynthia Robinson on trumpet, Jerry Martini on sax, and Greg Errico on drums. Vieta, also known as Vet Stone, was part of the Little Sisters' background vocalists, along with Mary McCreary and Elva Mouton. While the debut album was not commercially successful, Clive Davis, the head of CBS, prevailed upon Sly to create something more mainstream. This led to 1968's Dance to the Music. Now, the namesake song, Dance to the Music, is easily my favorite Sly and the Family Stone song. If that's the case, why are we doing Thank You today? 2 reasons. First, Thank You is not one of the major hits from the group, but as the history guy says, it deserves to be remembered. And that's what this playlist is all about. Great songs you have never heard, and second, it's exceedingly clever. Anyway, Sly and the Family Stone's career follows the Star Trek movie success formula. Odd number movies were not great, even numbered movies were. Thus, their third album, 1968's Life, released in September, had low sales, but 1969's Stand, released 8 months later, was a runaway success. This album's popularity likely led to the group's inclusion at Woodstock in August. Their set at that venue did not include today's song, but it did include what Wikipedia describes as the only #1 hit at Woodstock, Everyday People. Considering all of the great music presented at Woodstock, it's hard for me to believe this fact, even if it is a great song, but maybe it's just me misinterpreting the phrase only #1 hit at Woodstock incorrectly. But as every peak is defined by a subsequent fall, 1969 appears to be the turning point. The record label was asking for more marketable material, while the Black Panthers were pushing for more militant output to reflect the direction of the Black Power movement. And the band had moved to Los Angeles and discovered drugs and partying. And having 3 masters like this made the band more erratic, which meant less studio output and inconsistent concert appearances. This led to the label releasing a greatest hits album in November of 1970, which also includes the only single from the band for the 2.5-year stretch from the summer of '69 through the fall of 1971. And that single is, ta-da, today's song, Thank You. In some respects, we can consider this the band's swan song, although Family Affair from 1971's There's a Riot Going On did hit #1. But the title of today's song and its subtitle, For Letting Me Be Myself Again, really say it all. You made me what I am today because you liked me. You really, really liked me. In 1973, I was in junior high school, what some call middle school today, consisting of 7th and 8th grades. As opposed to grade school, K through 6, where we all had the same teacher all day who covered all subjects, junior high had the same high school program where you changed subjects and teachers every hour for 6 hours every day. And the subjects were the same Monday through Friday. One of my teachers that year was new to the school and was very different. As one might describe E.T., the extraterrestrial, he wasn't from around here. He did not have an accent, or not one that was pronounced, but in appearance, with his stocky build and collar-length white hair combed back, you could see him as the You could see him as the embodiment of a Southern plantation owner. And as he always seemed solicitous and polite and in some cases accommodating. Our school and classes were fairly mixed, with 60% white and 40% other races. This was a big change for my elementary school, which was probably 95% white, but I don't think any of my classmates were disturbed by the change. Generally, the Bay Area is a big melting pot, and we had just graduated into a bigger, more accommodating pot. But in retrospect, I get the feeling that this teacher had been moved involuntarily from some district in the U.S. because bad things happened, and this might have been his last chance to get with the program or be forced out of this career. And one of the things he did to be accommodating was, When the teaching was done and we could start our homework early, we could listen to records, actual LPs on a crappy player that was located in the back of the room. And one of the albums he supplied was Sly and the Family Stone's Greatest Hits. I have never had another teacher allow this, and I am forever grateful to him for exposing us to an almost daily mix of contemporary pop, rock, R&B, and funk. Thank you includes the whole cast of characters I listed earlier, specifically bassist Larry Graham, who pioneered the slapping of the bass. While he popularized it to great effect as part of the family, he has stated that he invented the playing style in a previous band due to the absence of a drummer there. And Thank You starts with one of his iconic slapping bass grooves. The song has 4 verses interlaced with 4 identical choruses. The first verse contains, let's call it the seminal blues battle between good and evil, akin to Robert Johnson's Crossroad and the rumor that he sold his soul to the devil and hence died young. So that's the first verse and its attendant chorus. Wrestling with the devil, the battle of good versus evil, and the gratitude of allowing him to fight his own battles and emerge successful. But before we move on, I wanted to point out a couple of the fun elements that exist throughout the song. First, at the end of the chorus, the music gets quieter since that slap and bass goes away, and as soon as the next verse starts, so does the bass. And second, the chorus lead-in of I want to, which happens every chorus. Tons of fun. The second verse gets personal for Sly, where he admits to being a little shy and tongue-tied in large crowds, and thus explains some quick strategic exits. Many things on my mind, words in the way. The third verse expands to cover his success by alluding to previous songs and how his parents felt about it. As Wikipedia points out the obvious, dance to the music, everyday people, and sing a simple song were among their previous hits. And Papa's still encouraging, you can make it if you try. Well done there, Papa Stewart. And the final verse is positivity in rhyme, with the message that many people hate their lives but do nothing about it. Wake up and look around. Become a part of the solution. The youth of America wanted change, and truth, facts, and information will be their crowbar. However, the last line contains a cautionary warning. Dying young is hard to take, but selling out is hard. These are very strong words, and very moving, and very much of the times. It's interesting to me that this song comes in at just under 5 minutes, where most of the group's other hits max out at around 3 minutes. But it doesn't seem that way. Thank You feels like the right length, whereas Dance to the Music at 2 minutes 59 seems indecently short. But we'll get to that song later in the list. So that's it for Thank You from the greatest hits of Sly and the Family Stone.
You're welcome.
Next time, Alanis Morissette will thank you along with India and Disillusionment as a supposed former infatuation junkie. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.